What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to talk about AMC and GameStop since I'm getting a lot of requests from people to make a video about them and talk about what I see on the charts. I'm also going to talk about what's happening with tomorrow since we have so much data coming out. We have the PPI data report coming out, not to mention Jerome Powell's speech. So I'll break down everything on the charts and when you should be watching for all these pieces of volatility and what I see basically progressing as time goes on. But let me first mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks, and our friends in just about 2 weeks. Anyways, for the market right now, I just want to say that Tesla had a nice little rebound attempt right here. I did mention to everyone that I was expecting Tesla to try to get its way back up. And I called that it could even test the white trend line if we tried to break out, and we did get very close to doing so. Now, Tesla is showing some signs of life. There is potential for it to try to get higher and fill some gaps above. But in order for this to continue, we have to see, once again, some data working in its favor. We need to see a nice reaction after Jerome Powell's speech and a bunch of other things. So I'll be talking about Tesla and the market in just a few minutes. Let's first talk about AMC and GameStop. I've seen a lot of people asking me about this. So for GameStop, I'll be very quick, by the way. GameStop is getting a lot of attention. We got very, very nice volume. We're seeing a lot of buyers stepping back in. But the thing to remember is that these are momentum stocks. So this plays like a momentum play where it's going to depend a lot on volume to continue. So could this go higher? Yes, it can. I think that as long as we get good volume tomorrow, yes, GME and AMC could continue to push. AMC is kind of just following the trend right now. Both of them have potential to go higher, but I want to be honest with everyone. I'm not referring to shares. I'm just referring to like day trading. If you were to day trade these, you have to secure profits quickly. Not financial advice. It's just what I'm simply saying in order for you to maintain the green. Because as fast as these stocks run, they also could fall quickly because of the manipulation and all sorts of other factors such as volume slowing down and etc. So do I think they could go higher? Yes, I do. I think that we'll be watching for some key retracement areas. It's just 31.37 or even below this. And then we might see some more buyers stepping in, try to launch them higher. If GME breaks 40, we could easily go up to the 50s, in my personal opinion. And we'll be looking at historical data just to see how it goes tomorrow. But first, I want to see if we break the high of the day. If that breaks, we could get very close to a 50, in my personal opinion. And for AMC, very similarly, I think that this has a lot of momentum building right now. So AMC and GameStop are going to start getting more attention by the media. Mainstream outlets are going to be talking about them. There's going to be more videos coming out, more retail buying them, right? So more attention, more volume should be coming in. And if we keep getting that, this could continue to go higher. We'll be watching for a test of about the $7 area, in my opinion, to 7.5. Break this, I'm looking at 8, then 10 as our next targets, all the way up here towards this imbalance. So I could see this thing going up to those targets I just called out. Look for a little excuse me, a little retracement first before we continue higher. I do see more potential in them as we're getting good volume. But like I said before, if I were to play these, if I'm just referring to day trading. I'm not saying anything about shares. You guys can do whatever you want with shares, buy as many as you want, whatever you want to do. But for day trading, if I were to strategize, I would take profits very quickly because of the fact that these stocks could fall back down later on. They pump and then dump typically. So I'm going to be very honest about that, and we'll see how things go from here. But with good pushes to the upside, with good volume, good momentum, we're going to be looking for a continuation tomorrow and watch to see if we break this resistance. If we break the high here, I would use this Fibonacci retracement to set stops. And then our next target is going to be all the way up to 7, 7.5, 8, then eventually 10 if that breaks. So we'll see how things go. Anyways, that's it for AMC and GameStop. Let's transition to Tesla briefly. Then I'm going to start talking about the news and such. Tesla is showing life. Like I said, we have this big white trend line acting as resistance. If Tesla breaks through that white trend line, we're going to turn a lot more bullish. So we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. We'll also be very, very open-minded to how this is kind of churning right here. So the 4 hour is also building some nice momentum. And we could see a big shift, but we have to give this a little bit more time. All right, so what's happening for tomorrow? We have another factor that's going to affect Tesla in the markets. That's going to be PPI data. That's why it's going to be a very important day. 1 hour before the market opens, we have PPI coming out. Month over month, we want this to be between 0.2 and 0.3%. We'll see if it's hot or not. Then we also have core PPI coming out. We want this to be 0.2%. Core PPI month over month, we want this to be 2.4%, the same thing as before. So everything is very close to what we saw from before in terms of expectations, except for year over year, we're expecting a slight increase to 2.2%. Once again, very similar to what we saw before, not bad whatsoever. So that's what we're expecting for PPI. We'll see if the numbers are like that. If the numbers are very hot, if PPI year over year is like 2.3, 2.4%, that could be a little bearish. So just be careful. If it's 2.2% or lower, that's going to be bullish. So we'll just wait and see. And then after the PPI data report comes out, we have the one and only Jerome Powell giving a speech at 10 o'clock a.m. Whatever Jerome Powell says could have a big effect on the markets, and he could be unpredictable sometimes. So we'll see if he pumps the markets or not. We'll be very, very patient and open-minded nonetheless, just to be safe. So with that being said, we'll see what happens month over month. This is kind of like what we've seen before with the month over month change. Typically, the change is not that bad, at least for PPI prices. PPI is a leading indicator for CPI, so it's going to be important for the Fed's policies. And that's the reason why after PPI comes out tomorrow morning, we have Jerome Powell's speech at 10 a.m. So we'll see what he causes. For more data, the market is currently quite neutral, not too greedy, not too fearful. Momentum is still greedy, and we're also starting to see a big shift here. The put and call positioning is now dipping, as this basically signifies that more calls are being bought, more puts are being closed, and the current sentiment is very, very bullish. People are turning very bullish right now. Volatility is also, for the VIX, still kind of increasing a bit. So we'll see if there are any changes with that. And that's pretty much it in terms of data. There's nothing else that's too insane. I also want to call out that for Tesla, we have some interesting stuff. Tesla is now spending ad money to influence shareholders' approval of Elon Musk's $55 billion payday. That is true. This is actually very important, at least for Elon Musk. In my personal opinion, he could do what he wants in this case. But for this to be going on, I mean, with the approval being potentially imminent, this could once again benefit him, incentivize him in a lot of different ways. And we'll see what else happens. In my personal opinion, it's just up to the shareholders. So we'll see how it goes. But with this coming out, Tesla is once again talking about communications, which allows for them to be sponsored and such. And that's once again going to be very important, at least for what else Tesla does. So we'll see what happens with any lawsuits where the venues happen to be, if there are any changes. But that's what I'm seeing so far in the news. There's also news coming out that Tesla is now rehiring some executives for the supercharger network, which is good news as they're making big investments in the industry. And they need this. It's going to be very pivotal for their business moving forward. So I think that's a good piece of news. This is something I did call out as a strong possibility. The layoffs could just be a temporary thing. Volume was at about 67 million. So that is once again a little bit below average, but it's still pumping quite nicely despite that. And whoopsies, short volume is also dipping a bit as we're seeing some shorts being closed, helping Tesla increase in value. We're also seeing a price price ratio kind of flat right now. Tesla's not that strong. We tend to see more seasonality on Tuesdays. We're green about 52% of the time. There's more volatility at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and also at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else too crazy that I'm seeing, at least on the charts. Now, for Tesla, what do I see moving forward? It depends on what we get with PPI and Jerome Powell's speech. We'll have to wait and see. It's a little bit tricky to predict, but I can tell you what technicals suggest. Remember, technicals are not sufficient. We can't solely trade based off these because it depends on what Jerome Powell says and what comes out. But just to be clear, if we get a rug pull, we want to see Tesla lose 172. If that fails, let's look for 170, then 168. If we're bullish, we want to see it break the white trend line. If we break this 173 area in the white trend line, we could be pushing for 175, and eventually 178. What do I think is more likely? Technicals do show it's going to try to push higher, likely fights the white trend line, maybe get closer to 178, but nothing is guaranteed yet. It also depends on data and what Jerome Powell says, so we'll just have to wait and see. Typically, for the first 30 minutes, Tesla likes to push a lot, but it depends on PPI and Jerome Powell, so I'll be very patient, but I do favor upside a bit more based off technicals, just somewhat more. But once again, guys, do not solely trade based off technicals. Wait and see what happens with PPI and Jerome Powell's speech just to be safe, and we'll see what happens after that. For Nvda has 908 as resistance. We have support at 892. We're kind of trading sideways within this range. I see some more upside potentials, and we have this nice accumulation structure. So the chart is starting to turn a bit more bullish if we could break 908 and higher levels. So I favored that, but watch and see if we could get that break. Nvidia does have more potential in my personal opinion. For SPY is kind of flat within this range. I drew two yellow lines. You guys see the two yellow lines? If we break 522.6, we're going to be pushing up for 523.5, then eventually 525. And if we lose 520, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 518, then 516.8. Overall, we're still holding up quite well on SPY, but it depends a lot on the data. Is this a bearish divergence double top and we're about to drop, or are we about to get a big breakout? We'll wait and see. I'm going to be completely unbiased and tell you that it depends on the data, it depends on what Jerome Powell says. So we'll just have to wait and see. The chart does look like it might actually dip a little bit, but just to be safe, I'm not going to promise that. We'll wait and see. For the QQQ, we're also kind of flat right now. If we break out above 444, look for 445.63 and 446. If we lose 442, we're going to be dipping down to 440, then eventually 437. This chart looks a bit more bullish. We haven't actually broke structure. So this is looking better than SPY a little bit. So I could see potential for us to go a little bit higher. We'll wait and see if that ends up being the case with these wicks forming. The QQQ does look more bullish, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see. Aapl also looks more bullish. If we break 187, look for 188, then eventually 189.5. And if we end up losing support, if we lose 186, look for a dip down towards 185 flat. If that fails us, we're going to be dipping down towards 184.25. Overall, Aapl is building momentum, looks a bit more bullish on the 4-hour, so I do favor upside, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see how things end up going. With that being said, guys, that's it for the main 5 I typically talk about. Tesla is showing potential to push higher. The chart does look a bit more bullish, but like I said before, let's see the data. Let's wait for Jerome Powell's speech just to see how things go, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Anyways, looking back at more tickers, we have NEO. And by the way, guys, I finished the main 5, so I'm just going to be kind of like more brief, more blunt with this part. NEO is building momentum because we have Onvo being launched very soon. So they have a sub-brand coming out in just a couple of days. This is going to likely test 5.66, and if not higher. 4-hour looks pretty good, so I do favor the upside a bit more. For Palantir, this is also favoring upside a bit more. Now, if we were to lose, hypothetically, 20.5, we're going to be dipping below 20 probably. And if we break past 21.32, we could be pushing towards 21.88. I favor the upside in Palantir, just to be clear, and I think that there is more upside potential. For Supermicro, in my personal opinion, is looking a bit more bearish. If we end up losing support right here at 780, we could be dipping all the way down towards the 760s. We have resistance at 800. If we break this, we're going to be pushing up for 809, then eventually 820. This is looking a bit more bearish, so I do see potential for Supermicro to slow down and fall. So we'll wait and see how things end up going. For Rivian, we have basically 10.73 as support. If we bounce off this, we could go higher and try to push it for 11.37. If we lose this, we're going to be dipping all the way down to the previous resistance at this 10.3 area. It's going to be testing support, so we'll see if it bounces or not. We'll see how the market dictates this as we have important data coming out. And also, it's going to be heavily dictated by other factors. So we'll just wait and see how things go. For SoFi, we're just trading kind of sideways right now. We have this resistance at this 7.2 area. We have support all the way down here at 6.9. We're just kind of stuck right now. Back and forth price action. Not really a whole lot is going on. So we'll just wait and see how things go. We're still kind of stuck, at least for now. For the IWM Russell 2000, there's a possible head and shoulders like structure, but this could be a trap. If we break 207, we could be pushing all the way up to the 208 area, so all the way up to this high here, 208.5, then eventually 210. And if we end up getting a rejection, if this head and shoulders fails us, we could be dipping all the way down towards 202, then eventually 200. I'm sorry, if this head and shoulders succeeds, we drop down to 200. So watch for confirmation. I'll be watching to see which way we break, so be very, very patient. If the head and shoulders is correct, we're going back down to 200. If it's just a trap, we're going back up to 208.5 plus. Now, it depends on the PPI reports. A lot of head and shoulders are not always guaranteed. Sometimes they're traps. So we'll just be patient traders. Let's wait and see what happens with the data. The market's going to react, and I'll give you guys an answer once we get that data out. For AMD, we have resistance at 152, and we have support at 150, not to mention the 145 area. I favor that this might be dipping down to 145, so give this some time, and we'll see how things go. For ARM, we're also looking a bit more bullish. We have a nice imbalance all the way up towards this 122 area, and also at 120. We have support currently at this basically 110, and also at 115. I think that this does favor the upside a bit more. We could get very close to the 120 area, and we'll see how things end up moving from here. For Coinbase is also barely at 198. If we lose support, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 192. If we bounce, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards 200 and then eventually 207. So we're kind of stuck right now at this 198 area. We'll see if we get a big bounce or not. I'm going to be very, very patient, and we'll see how things end up going from here, at least for Coinbase. But I'm going to be very patient with this one. It's going to get a big reaction based off PPI. The chart is looking a bit more bearish, but it hasn't lost 192 yet. So it might dip a little bit more than bounce. We'll just have to wait and see. For Amazon, I said yesterday we might dip towards 185 if we lose 187. That's exactly what happened. We're at 185. The chart does look a little bit more bearish, but there's no confirmation yet it's actually collapsing. If we lose 185, expect it to be dipping all the way down towards 183.7. And if we break past 187.22, it's going to be pushing for 190. We're stuck in the middle right now. We're just dead in the center. So give it some time and wait and see where we end up moving from here. For Meta, Meta's kind of turning a bit more bearish. If we lose 465, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 460. If we hold that, we're going to be bouncing all the way up towards 472. We're kind of stuck in the middle. We are looking like we're very distributive, so this looks a little bit more bearish. So give this some time and we'll see how things go. For Microsoft, we have support currently at this 412 area and also at 409, and we have resistance all the way up here towards 417. We're kind of stuck in the middle, so we'll see what happens from here. And I think that overall, it all depends on what we get for tomorrow. We got a nice little gap up and a little drop today, so it's stuck in the middle. It's kind of indecisive. It's waiting for data, not really picking a direction, so I'll have to wait and see. Google has more upside potential. It has a nice big bar right here, so I could see this going all the way up towards about 172 and eventually 173. There is potential for it to push a little bit if we continue to pump. If we end up losing 160, or I'm sorry, 170, look for a dip all the way down towards 169. So we'll give this some time and see how things go. The VIX is currently in a very, very critical place. Even though it's trying to push a little bit higher, if we do reject and start dipping down to fill this gap, that could be because the market's going to push higher. And the VIX is not officially breaking out or doing anything just yet until we break the 50 EMA. If we break the 50 EMA, then the VIX could get a breakdown. This could be bearish for the markets for a rejection. If not, the VIX is still kind of stuck and we'll give it some time. So because there's this big gap right here, I'm not officially fixated on the notion that it's breaking out yet. We do have a tendency of kind of chopping in the 12.5 area, so we'll wait and see. But we have to wait and see what happens with Powell and the others just for confirmation if we're going to fill the gap or not. The 10-year Treasury yield is shuffling. Will we end up dipping down to the 200 EMA or will we bounce? It depends on Jerome Powell's speech for tomorrow, so we'll just wait and see. And same thing with the dollar. We have resistance at 105.23. We have support currently at 105. We will see if there is a bounce or not, so give it the time it needs. With that being said, guys, right now, the 4-hour on Tesla is still turning upwards. Tesla has potential to push all the way up to 178. However, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is promised just yet as we have to wait for some data. So once again, tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, PPI data comes out. And then at 10 o'clock a.m., we have Jerome Powell's speech. Let's wait and see how things go as patient people, as patient traders, and beyond. So thank you for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see how things go. And once again, for AMC and GME, guys, please know that people have very, very strong emotions attached to these stocks. As a trader, that is not a great thing. You don't want your emotions to be getting in the way. You have to be unbiased. You have to do what's logical if you want to make money in the markets. You can't let your emotions get the best of you. Always remember that, guys. Okay? So I'm not here to love or hate or do anything like that. That's not my job. I'm simply here to tell you guys about what I see on the charts and what is the most probable outcome. I'm also here to just provide you guys with value. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to, attack a community that likes AMC or dislikes them. That's not what my intention is. I just want to be unbiased. Okay. So for the people out there who are always buying shares of AMC and GameStop, you may go ahead and do that and it could pay off, right? You never know what could happen. But I'll tell you this, I'm just referring mainly to day trading in my videos, intraday analysis, and also what I see for tomorrow specifically. And I was mainly just talking about options and what could end up playing out based off that and kind of strategizing based off historical data, right? As the stocks kind of like pump and dump. So that's what I'm trying to say. No hates to anyone. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. Please have a great night. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning, right before the PPI data report comes out. Thanks again, guys, and peace out.